Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us again this week on our Living Life Naturally podcast. And today I have with me Laurie Lewis. She is an intermittent fasting coach and author. She also is dealing a lot with women in menopause because we all know that deals a crushing blow to us with brain fog, lack of balance, memory loss, and the sudden gain in Laura's case, 50 pounds of stubborn hormonal fat. And she tried everything that she knew to feel better. And the methods that worked in the past made no difference. If you're in menopause, you totally get that. So after 4 years of struggle, Laurie stumbled upon intermittent fasting and started fasting that very same day. And the menopausal fog lifted in less than 1 week. She had more energy and she felt more like herself. She lost 51 pounds in 15 months and has kept it off for years. So now at 57, Laurie has turned her personal success into the premier thriving intermittent fasting coaching business. So as a certified health coach from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, she combines her knowledge of nutrition with deep research and practice of time-restricted eating. So Laurie guides her clients with the dream come true: eat the foods you love and enjoy the rest of your life feeling vibrantly well. I love that. Welcome, Laurie. Great
Hi,
to have
Lynn.
you.
It's great to be with you. We are like-minded and care about the same people in the same way.
And that's really awesome. So I kind of want to talk about menopause, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about your own story.
Oh, I would love to. I don't know about you, but I felt so great in my early 40s. I was like, wow, I'm king of the mountain. I just felt strong and lean and vibrant, and I was running marathons, and I'd been studying nutrition for about 20 years. So I had discovered for myself the foods that make me feel really well. And because both you and I were students at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, we know, or we believe in, I suspect, that in bio-individuality, that
Yes.
each person's body responds to fat, proteins, carbohydrates uniquely, and we need to discover for ourselves what makes us feel well and what makes us not feel well. So I was thriving. I felt great, and everyone knew me as, super healthy person, and I never wanted to be the food police. I never wanted to be the person that made people feel like I was judging them for eating whatever they were eating. My goodness, no, I'm trying to just figure out my own self. And I wasn't a health coach then, but I had gotten my certification just out of personal interest and desire, hunger for learning more. And then, pardon me, at age 44, I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night one night with this terrible thought that my air conditioner may have been broken because I was sweating up a storm and it was so hot. My AC was cranking out the cold air just fine. And that was the beginning of perimenopause, but I didn't realize what was happening with all these symptoms because they don't send us to biology class for older women.
Right.
And so we don't really piece together that, oh, there's this lethargy and this fatigue and this brain fog and this depression and this really head to toe symptoms that we don't realize are a part of perimenopause and this flip in our hormones. And it took my brother to say to me, Laurie, isn't depression like part of menopause? And I was like, it is? I don't know. I just feel terrible. Thanks, Bobby. And so I was really excited for my period to stop because I thought it would all be over then and I could get back to normal. And yeah, that was far from normal. So at 49, which was a bit early, the average is 51, 52. But at 49, I went through a whole year of not having my period. And that means you ring the bell and you're now in menopause, postmenopausal. And we don't even know that. It's amazing how many women I say, okay, you're pre-menopause and then you are perimenopause when you start to experience some of these symptoms. So everybody, it's not you want to expect it because 20% of women oh, whoever they are, don't experience any of these
Lucky
things.
people.
They've been blessed by angels or
Mhm.
something. I don't know how they got away from that, because I was really a healthy person and I got hit hard. But if you go through the list, I had them all. And so at 49, I was in menopause because I went for a year without my period. And then I suddenly gained the weight, just piled on. And I felt it was unfamiliar and strange. And as you said in my intro, in my bio, that everything I'd tried from the past that I tried again didn't work. And, I had all my lab work done and my hormones were out of whack, but I just thought, okay, I am going to figure out how to balance my hormones without taking exogenous hormones like hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormones. Now, I don't disparage anyone for doing it. I just felt in my gut that through nutrition and and sleeping well, and I also had a strong adrenal issue at that same time also. So I was like very committed to nourishing and nurturing myself in all the ways. And I tried determinedly for 4.5 years, and nothing helped with the weight loss. And then I was head to toe in pain, like absolute discomfort, head to toe. And I went home. I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, and I went home to the mountains to visit my mom for an extended stay. And she said, let's use this time that you're home to turn the weight around. Oh, dear mothers and daughters, special relationship. I had a total meltdown. And because I'd really, what, you think I'm not doing everything I can possibly do to feel like myself again? And she was generous in her listening. And she said, well, let's pray for an answer, because what else is there? And that night, Lynn, I Googled, like I always had. I hadn't given up hope. I was just at the point of just total despondency where I thought maybe I have to succumb to the idea that it just gets harder and worse, and it really is all downhill forever. But I still had a glimmer of hope. And I Googled something like, hormonal, menopausal, stubborn fat, help me. And I read the words intermittent fasting for the first time. And I knew that people throughout all history, for spiritual fasting and therapeutic long-term fasting, but I didn't know it was this possible way of living life by pausing from eating consciously, and then eating later in an eating window, and then fasting again and eating in an eating window. And so I stayed up all night and I read about it, and I thought, well, that's, I could try that. And I told my mom in the morning, and she said, how may I support you? Which is the best way to start anything with a person who says, yeah, go, yes, try that. I'm here for you. And she was my biggest cheerleader. And I was home for about 3 weeks, which was a really fabulous way to start something new in a nurturing quiet environment. And as you said, I lost 15 pounds in 15 months. But the miracle was that within a week, I felt like myself again. I just felt lighter and brighter and more clear. And as I felt better, and as the weight safely and methodically came off, everybody in my life wanted to know what I was doing. Because up until then, people were like, you're the healthiest person we know. How on earth did you gain 50 pounds? I'm like, I don't know. And so when I started feeling better, people came to me and said, teach us what you're doing. And so after all that, my career now is back to this original passion of how to treat myself in the absolute best way, so that I feel better and better and better and better. And fasting, a daily fasting practice, is the foundation for that. And it's unique for each person. So the discovery is exhilarating.
Yes. So there are so many different ways that you can do intermittent fasting. So which one did you choose for yourself?
Such a great question. And that is the first question. Once people get over wow, that sounds hard and scary. And then they lean in with a little curiosity, like, well, how do you know what to do? Right. Up until, well, throughout our lives in diet culture, we are presented with diet plans and we read the plan and we think, oh, I could do that, I guess, for a short while until I reach my goal and I'll suffer through. And having a fasting regimen is different than that. So
Mm.
you don't need to pick the plan in advance, because how could you possibly know where your body is going to settle in? We all have kind of a sweet spot where we look at our personal goals of either fat loss or warding off Alzheimer's, or I mean, my plantar fasciitis, the debilitating pain that I'd
Wow.
had for 10 years went completely away
Wow.
within 3 to 4 months of intermittent fasting. So what I encourage people to do is to just start. Unlike other programs, air quotes, programs, this isn't that. This is like sleep. We sleep every night to restore our health and clean up our brain and deep cellular repair. And we fast every day for the healing that that provides. And so in that discovery, each person looking at your work schedule and your family life and your social life and your, when you, what has you feeling your best? So this isn't about being good, like being on a program or being on a diet, being good. I'm trying so hard to be good. I invite people to step into the camp of the discovery is what has you feel great. So people hear in the media and so forth about different intermittent fasting schedules. So your question was, how do you know what schedule, And so people, you take the 24-hour day and you divide it into two parts, the fasting hours and the eating window. And if you start gradually, let's chop the 24 hours into 12 hours and 12 hours. It's a reasonable way to start. So each person can decide today what time you're closing your eating window today. And especially people with late night snacking challenges,
Mm.
close it early and drink plain water after that. So let's say you close it at 6 or 7, or depending on your family life. And so it could be 8, 9, whenever your work, let's say you get home from work late and then you make dinner and eat it and you close your eating window by 9:30 or 10. It's totally up to you. And then drink plain water, sleep. Wake up in the morning, drink plain water. If you like black coffee, if you like coffee, have a black coffee, and then open your eating window 12 hours later. So let's say you closed it at 7 p.m., open it at 7 a.m. and have breakfast. And don't just have a little snack, have a satisfying meal and go about your day. And that's how you start. And then you inch up the fasting hours and shrink the eating window until you feel like you're at a place that you can settle in. And that's how it starts. That's how you choose.
And so do you find that with, excuse me, intermittent fasting, that you still stay away from certain foods, or are you open to everything during those other hours that you're eating?
I love that, because that is the natural next question. It's like, oh, okay, so the fasting is plain water, plain black coffee, plain black tea, like bitter. If you're going to drink something like coffee or tea, it has to be really bitter with no nutrients. So people are like, oh, well, dandelion tea is really bitter. Yeah, but it's chock full of nutrients. We want to put the body in a total rest. So we're in this rest state. And then the next question, of course, is what do I eat? And when a person is feeling determined to turn their health around, we are inclined to, hit the gym, pull out all the stops and do everything all at once. It's like, wait. Let's do one thing at a time. Learning how to fast and put that body into that healing state, that healing rest, is an adjustment in and of itself. And like I said, I felt so much better in 3 days to that first week. I just felt amazing. But we need to recognize that it really takes 2 to 4 weeks for the adjustment phase. So keep the eyes off the scoreboard. Just focus on learning to fast and your body shifting its fuel sources from glucose to glycogen to fat. It's so exciting when the body becomes fat adapted and you're burning your own body fat for fuel.
Right.
But that's an adjustment phase. And so what I say in the beginning is eat normally for you. So whatever you eat normally, just eat normally. Don't go on a diet. Don't calorie restrict. Don't, if it's comfortable and normal for you to eat, air quotes, clean, right? So let's say you're someone who's very devoted and has had good success with eating real whole foods. Keep doing that. If you're someone who's a grab and go, and you should eat healthier, but I would say eat what you normally eat. Practice eating to satiety. See, what a lot of people do when they start intermittent fasting is they just go completely off the rails. They're like, oh, I can eat anything in my eating window. And I had a client say to me in the early days of my coaching, she's like, I just don't feel that great when I'm eating all that cookie dough to open my eating window. And I'm like, right. Of course you don't. You should not do that. It's like, but you said you could eat anything. I'm like, okay, what I said was eat normally. I didn't say go completely berserk and eat all the processed foods to open your eating window. Of course you don't feel well. So what happens, Lynn, is this miraculous physiological function called appetite correction. Dr. Bert Herring wrote a book called AC, The Power of Appetite Correction. And we all have an appetite center in our brains, the apostat. And that regulates and manages our hunger and satiety hormones. And it's all out of whack right now because we eat all the time. And so as you are fasting clean and then eating in an eating window, whether your eating window is 12 hours or 10 or 8 or 7 or 4 or 2 hours, whatever it is for you, whatever you reach and settle into your fasting sweet spot, the apostat, the appetite center in your brain, starts to do two things. It starts to tell you how much to eat, and some days more and some days less, but it's really communicative in terms of stop eating now, which is hard to imagine what that feels like. And the other thing the apostat will do is steer you towards the foods that make you feel well and away from the foods that make you not feel well. So suddenly new fasters will say to me, I always eat whatever it is for lunch. And now I'm noticing it either makes me feel really sleepy or really icky, or I get really puffy. And it's like, oh, great. Now, because of fasting, you have this heightened discernment to hear and feel the communication that your body is telling you that that particular food doesn't serve you. And then we go through the grieving process of, but I like that food. Well, so I always say, eat the foods you love and the foods that love you back. And if we have to start eliminating foods that don't love us back, sometimes we're sad about that. But then what wins the day is feeling well. And at some point, all of us are like, you know what? It's actually not worth eating that thing because it makes my belly puff out and makes me not sleep well and makes my joints achy and makes me moody and grumpy and ravenous. And oh yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore because I just would prefer to feel well. Right. So that's how the flow from fasting as the foundation helps us gradually make food choices that are aligned with our unique physiology, which is very exciting.
Yes. And are you doing this on a daily basis or certain days a week?
I have found for myself and coaching many people that having a daily regimen is incredibly enlivening, because physiologically, here's what's important to know. Depending on our goals, right? If you are someone who's at your ideal weight, you are at your ideal weight. You just slip into your clothes and you feel nimble and flexible and alive and alert, and you can do all the physical things that you want to do, and you don't have any brain fog and you have nice, even energy all day, then maybe you could do a day or two of fasting a week. But I mean, I've been at my ideal weight. I'm 58 now, and I've been at my ideal weight for 3 years. And I chose and have chosen to stay with my daily fasting regimen and eating window because I feel so well. And as we are using the fuel sources that we have on board, the glucose in our blood, the stored glycogen, which is stored glucose in our liver and muscles and so forth, and then we shift into burning our own body fat for fuel, and we're fat adapted. We're in ketosis, fueling our body on this beautiful, efficient energy source called ketones, fueling our brain on ketones, and we feel so well. We really do want to have that feeling every day. And as intermittent fasters, it's just so flexible. You can change it all the time. So go on vacation, have a longer eating window. And mostly when people who are daily clean intermittent fasters, people who eat in their eating window every day, when we get back from vacation, it's usually we're pretty eager and excited to tighten it back up and we just feel so much better in the eating window that we discovered is our groove. And so it's flexible, and you could do it as much or as little as you like. But I have found that people who just dabble here and there never get into that fat adapted state. And it's just always hard then, because you're always having to start again and again, drain that tank. I like thinking of the liver and the liver glycogen as like a bathtub or a tank. And we're draining it, we're chipping away at that. And then we get to the bottom after a few weeks of consistent fasting. And then we're tapping into our fat stores. We don't want to have to start that over again and be in the adjustment phase over and over and over and over again. Just stay in that blissful phase of being a person who fasts every day. So that's my experience personally, and observing thousands of people that I've coached.
So after you got into this, did you go back and have your hormone levels checked? Was there a difference in them?
Yeah, they restored to the balanced, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and then cortisol and insulin. And cortisol is important throughout the day to have that tested throughout the day, a saliva test. And there are just a lot of ways that the Dutch test, that we can test our hormones. And many of us have physicians who are resistant to that.
Yes.
They kind of feel like, well, you're a woman and you're of a particular age, and why is that information useful for you? It's like, wait, what? It's useful for me because I want to know where I stand. Just because they may not have solutions for me or prescriptions for me doesn't mean I shouldn't know my numbers. And so I spend a lot of my coaching supporting clients and students in knowing the questions to ask their doctors and to be somewhat persistent to get the information that is helpful. And so then we can take the numbers and guide our clients and students to having a lifestyle of sleep and movement and reflection time, which I call, quiet time, time in nature, time praying, or time meditating, or time journaling, and fasting as the foundation for that. Because I have noticed and observed and what is the word? Confident in knowing that whatever is important to you, fasting makes it better. If you want to have bright, productive performance at work, clear focus, good creative ideas, be an intermittent faster. If you want to make food choices that are right for your body, fast every day. If you want to increase and improve your fitness performance, you're getting stronger and more stamina and run farther and feel better and breathe easier, be an intermittent faster. So fasting is the foundation for all of life feeling better.
And that's what it's all about. I think, especially as we hit that midlife phase, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, wherever it's at for us, we are really beginning to learn how important it is to feel healthy and to be healthy. And I think that I have been an intermittent faster, so I totally get that. And I totally get how well it works. So I think that's exciting for people, especially in the menopause stage, whether it's pre, peri, menopause, post, whatever you want, wherever you're at, it can be such a healthy tool. And yet people, first of all they hear is fasting. Oh gosh, that means I have to do without food.
They do. And what the one of the exciting discoveries is that the fasting hours are as enlivening and nourishing and pleasurable as the eating hours. So I think they weigh equally. We get excited to eat, and we choose foods in our eating window that make us feel amazing, right? So if you have this eating window and it's in a framework of time that you get to say, so some people are like, I don't eat before 1, I don't eat past 7. And so then there's that 6-hour time frame, or a 4-hour time frame, or an 8 or a 10-hour time frame you get to say. But whatever it is, we then start making food choices that we are excited about. The food has to be window worthy. We're not going to have mediocre, icky food that makes us feel terribly. We're going to have great food that we are excited to eat to satiety. So there's that experience of eating well when you eat in an eating window. Dieting leaves us feeling deprived. Tiny little meals all the time leave us hungry and unsatisfied all the time. Fasting, during the fasting hours, we feel enlivened. And during the eating hours, we feel well nourished and feel pleasure. So they are equally important. And most people pretty quickly feel like, wow, well, the fasting feels great. The fasting is easy. Now I have to deal with the food. And that is the next thing to address. It's, yeah.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you. So where can people find you?
My business is called Fast Forward Wellness, fastforwardwellness.com. And I'm a one-on-one coach, and I lead group programs. And I also have an amazing workbook. It's a 90-day workbook. And so I encourage people to get the actual paperback copy and not the Kindle, because you want to get out your favorite pens and respond to the prompts. And there are 90 days of questions and logging and all the information about why you would do this and how to start and how to get excited about it and how to talk to others. And then 90 days, so the first 3 months, I'm there, right there with you. And then the final chapter is Fast Forever, Fast Foundation, Fast Forward, how to troubleshoot and reach your goals and feel amazing living life as a person who eats in an eating window. And that book is called Celebrating Your Vibrant Future: Intermittent Fasting for Women 44 to Forever. And that's on Amazon.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And so in closing, do you have any last tips that you'd like to give our listeners?
I just am so inspired by the opportunity that I have to listen to people and hear where they are. And I listen for any struggle, stress, or strain that anybody is experiencing, and figure out ways to make it better. And that starts with a foundation of fasting, so you can have the clarity and the discernment and the awakeness to move forward in life feeling well. And I really believe that everyone can do that. I believe in you. You are loved.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laurie. We appreciate your time today, appreciate your wisdom on this. And the one thing that I get for this, especially for midlife, menopausal, perimenopausal women, is that there is hope to be able to get your body back and to get that vibrancy back in life.
Absolutely hope. Oh, I love that. I love believing on that idea. Yeah. There is hope today. Yes. There's no you don't have to do any preparation. You just get a clock and decide what time today you're going to stop eating. So be well.
Awesome.
Fast forward.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn.
Appreciate you being on here with us. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.